I'm standing in my bathroom, staring at my sister Melissa through the mirror, and I know exactly what she's about to ask. The orange prescription bottle sits on the counter between us like a loaded gun. Hey, Soph, she says, her voice honey sweet. I'm having the worst back pain. Could I maybe have a couple of your Percocet just to get through today? In my first life, I said yes. In my first life, that single act of sisterly compassion destroyed everything I'd ever built. But I'm not that Sophie anymore. I died in a prison infirmary at 34, my medical license revoked, my parents ashamed, my entire life reduced to a cautionary tale about doctors who abuse their prescription privileges. I died knowing the truth. Melissa never had back pain. She was already addicted, and I was just convenient. I woke up 3 months ago, gasping in my bed at 29, 5 years before my arrest. The date on my phone said March 15th, 2019, exactly 1 week before Melissa first asked to borrow my medication. My hands were smooth and unmarked by prison. My apartment was still mine. My future was still salvageable. But this time, I remember everything. Sophie, Melissa prompts, her reflection showing that perfect, concerned face she's so good at. You okay? I turn to face her, letting concern crease my features. Back pain? Since when? It's been building for a few days. She touches her lower back, wincing convincingly. I must have pulled something at the gym. I tried Advil, but it's not touching it. The lie flows so easily from her lips. In my previous life, I believed her. I was a first-year resident, exhausted from 100-hour weeks, and Melissa was my baby sister. Of course I wanted to help. Of course I trusted her. You should see a doctor, I say. I will, but my insurance doesn't kick in until next month, and I can't afford urgent care right now. Her eyes get just a little watery. Please, Soph? Just 2 pills? I'm dying here. In my first life, I gave her 3, then 5 more the next week. Then I wrote her a prescription under my name, then another. By the time I realized she was selling them to her boyfriend's friends, forging my signature to get refills, I was already complicit, already guilty. When the DEA investigation started, Melissa played the victim perfectly. Poor, innocent Melissa, manipulated by her doctor's sister. Melissa in rehab, tearful and apologetic. Melissa who got probation and a fresh start while I got 3 years in federal prison. I lean against the sink. I can't, Mel. Her expression flickers just for a second, surprise and irritation breaking through the facade. What? Why not? They're really cracking down on prescription drug monitoring. Every pill is tracked. I shake my head. I could lose my license just for giving you medication prescribed to me. You have to get your own prescription. But that's going to take weeks. Sophie, please, I'm in agony. She grabs my hand. Her palm is dry, steady. Not the hand of someone in pain. I'm your sister. That's what she said in my first life, too, right before she let me take the fall. I'm sorry, I say, pulling away, and I really can't, but I can lend you money for urgent care if... Forget it. Her voice goes cold. I thought I could count on family, but I guess I was wrong. She storms out, slamming my apartment door hard enough to rattle the frame. I wait until I hear the elevator ding, then I open my safe and pull out the notebook. I've been keeping it since the day I woke up in this second life. Every memory from before, every detail I can recall about what went wrong and when. I flip to Melissa's section and add today's date. March 22nd, 2019. First request. Denied. The thing about having lived this once before is that I know Melissa won't stop. She can't. In my first timeline, she was already 6 months into an addiction that started with her boyfriend, Connor. He got her hooked, then convinced her that her doctor sister was a gold mine. Free pills, no questions asked. By the time I went to prison, Melissa and Connor had made over $50,000 selling my prescriptions on the street. My phone buzzes. A text from my mother. Melissa says you refused to help her when she was in pain. Really, Sophie? Right on schedule. In my first life, this guilt trip worked. Mom made me feel like a terrible daughter and sister until I caved. I type back, She needs to see her own doctor. I'm not allowed to prescribe to family members. The response is immediate. You could have given her a few pills from your own prescription. Don't be so rigid. I don't answer. Let mom be annoyed. I spent my first life trying to please everyone, and it got me nothing but a felony conviction. Instead, I pull up my banking app and transfer money into a separate account I've been building. In my first life, I lost everything: my savings, my retirement, even my security deposit when I couldn't pay rent from prison. This time, I'm prepared. I'm documenting everything, and I'm going to burn Melissa's entire world down. 2 days later, Melissa shows up at the hospital where I work. I'm in the middle of rounds when a nurse tells me there's someone in the waiting room asking for me. I already know who it is. She's sitting in the corner, wearing a knee brace she definitely didn't have before. When she sees me, she stands up, limping. Sophie, her voice is weak. I'm so sorry about the other day. I was just really hurting and I took it out on you. It's okay, I say, even though it's not. Nothing about this is okay. I went to urgent care like you said. She gestures to the brace. They said I have a torn ligament. They gave me a prescription for pain medication, but my pharmacy doesn't have it in stock. Could I fill it at yours? Since you work here, maybe they could prioritize it? It's a different approach than last time, but the goal is the same. Get access to my prescription pads, my DEA number, my credentials. Sure, I say. What did they prescribe? I don't remember the name, something with oxy? Oxycodone? Yeah, that sounds right. In my first life, I didn't question why urgent care would prescribe oxycodone for a ligament injury. I didn't ask to see the prescription, I just wanted to help my sister. Can I see the prescription? I ask. She pats her purse. I left it in my car, but I can run and… That's okay. I'm actually not supposed to fill prescriptions for family members anyway. Hospital policy. I soften my voice. But the pharmacy downtown is usually pretty well stocked. Have you tried there? Her jaw tightens. Yeah, they're out too. Huh. Weird. I check my watch. I've got to get back to rounds. Feel better, okay? I walk away before she can argue, but I feel her eyes boring into my back. That afternoon, I get a call from my father. Sophie, your sister is in real pain, he says without preamble. Your mother and I think you're being unnecessarily difficult. I close the door to the on-call room. Dad, I'm a resident. I can't just hand out prescriptions to family. It's illegal. A few pills from your own prescription isn't illegal. Actually, it is. Sharing prescription medication is a federal crime. He sighs heavily. When did you become so by the book? This is your sister. She's suffering. Then she should see her own doctor. She did see a doctor. They gave her a prescription she can't fill. Dad, there are hundreds of pharmacies in this city. If she actually has a legitimate prescription, one of them will have it in stock. You're being selfish, he says, and hangs up. I sit in the dark room, my phone silent in my hand. In my first life, this call broke me. I called Melissa crying, apologizing, and gave her everything she wanted. That was the beginning of the end. This time, I save my tears. This time, I open my laptop and start a new document. I title it Timeline of Requests and begin documenting every interaction with my sister. Dates, times, what she asked for, how I responded. I screenshot the text from my mother, save the call log from my father. If this is going to end with a DEA investigation, and I know it will, I'm going to make damn sure I have evidence that I refused her. Every single time. Melissa doesn't contact me for 2 weeks. My parents give me the cold shoulder at Sunday dinner, but I endure it. I know what's coming. In my first life, Melissa's next move was to befriend my roommate, Jenna. She'd come over when I wasn't home, chat with Jenna, eventually get access to my room. That's when the prescription pads started going missing. But in this life, I don't have a roommate. I live alone. And my apartment has a deadbolt Melissa doesn't have a key to, so she has to get creative. Sophie, she sounds breathless on the phone. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I locked myself out of my apartment and my landlord can't come until tomorrow. Can I crash at your place tonight? It's 11 p.m. I'm exhausted from a double shift. In my first life, I said yes immediately. I'm not home, I lie. I'm staying at the hospital tonight, on call room. Oh, pause. Could I have your spare key? I promise I'll leave first thing in the morning. I don't have a spare key anymore, lost it last month. Another pause, longer this time. Seriously, Sophie, it's almost midnight. Where am I supposed to go? Mom and Dad's? They're out of town, remember? That cruise? I'd forgotten about the cruise. In my first life, I was so sleep deprived I didn't remember they'd left. Hotel? I suggest. I don't have money for a hotel. Connor and I just broke up. I'm barely making rent as it is. You and Connor broke up? This is new. In my first timeline, they stayed together for years, partners in crime right up until they both testified against me. Yeah, her voice gets thick. It doesn't matter. Can you please just help me out? I'm family, Sophie. I'm sorry, Mel. I really am at the hospital and I don't have a spare key. Try calling some friends? She hangs up without saying goodbye. I add the interaction to my documentation, then I do something I didn't do in my first life. I check my credit report. There it is, a credit card I didn't open, already maxed out at $5,000. The application was submitted 3 weeks ago using my social security number. Melissa didn't wait for me to share my prescriptions. She's already stealing from me in other ways. In my first life, I didn't discover this fraud until after my arrest when I was trying to scrape together money for a lawyer. By then, it was too late to prove who'd opened the account. This time, I screenshot everything. I file a police report online. I freeze my credit, and I start planning. The thing about being reborn is that you have perfect knowledge of certain events, but no control over others. I know when the DEA started investigating me in my first life, July 2020, after an overdose death was traced back to pills prescribed in my name. But I don't know every single prescription Melissa forged, every person she sold to. What I do know is this: she won't stop until she's caught. And if I want to make sure she goes down instead of me, I need to control the investigation. So I make a decision that would have horrified the old Sophie, the one who played by every rule and trusted the system. I'm going to let Melissa steal from me. But this time, I'm going to document everything. I start leaving my work bag in obvious places when Melissa visits, which she does more frequently after I forgive her for the lockout incident. I keep prescription pads inside, but I photograph every single pad before and after her visits, cataloging the missing sheets. I set up a hidden camera in my living room. I create a detailed spreadsheet of my legitimate prescriptions, every pill I'm actually prescribed for my chronic migraines. When I pick them up, how many I take. When pills go missing, I note it. And in early April, I give her exactly what she wants. She comes over crying, mascara running down her face. Connor hit me, she sobs. I finally left him for real, but Sophie, I'm a mess. I can't eat, I can't sleep. My doctor won't see me for 2 weeks and I don't know what to do. In my first life, I held her while she cried and wrote her a prescription for Xanax on the spot. In this life, I hold her while she cries, but I don't offer medication. Instead, I listen. I sympathize. And when she finally asks, "Do you have anything that could help me calm down, just for tonight?" I hesitate just long enough to seem reluctant. I have some Xanax prescribed for my anxiety, I say slowly. I could give you one, just one, to help you sleep tonight. But tomorrow you need to see a doctor, okay? Okay, she sniffles. Thank you, Sophie. You're the best sister. I give her a single pill from my bottle. The camera in my living room records everything. Her asking, me refusing initially, her begging, me finally relenting with clear reluctance and specific instructions that this is a one-time thing. She takes the pill and leaves. 3 days later, my prescription bottle is half empty, and I have video footage of Melissa letting herself into my apartment with a copy of my key I didn't know she had, going through my medicine cabinet and pocketing pills. I make copies of everything and store them in 3 separate locations: a safe deposit box, a cloud drive, and with my lawyer, a high-powered attorney I retained the week after I woke up in this timeline. You're sure about this? Attorney Marsh asks when I show her the evidence. You're creating a paper trail that shows you gave your sister controlled substances. 1 pill, I correct. On one occasion, documented on camera, where I clearly stated it was a one-time emergency and she needed to see her own doctor. Everything else shows her stealing from me without my knowledge. The DEA might not see it that way initially. I know, I meet her eyes. But I have proof I reported the thefts to you, my attorney, in real time. I have video evidence, I have documentation. When this goes to court, the jury will see that I was a victim, not a co-conspirator. When this goes to court? She leans back. Sophie, you're talking about your sister going to federal prison. My sister is committing federal crimes, I say flatly. I'm just making sure I don't go down with her. Marsh studies me for a long moment. What happened to you? You seem different than when you first came to see me. I smile, but it doesn't reach my eyes. I learned not to be naive. By June, Melissa has stolen over 60 pills from me and forged 4 prescriptions in my name. I know because I've documented every single instance. I've also discovered she's back together with Connor. I see them together when I drive by her apartment, and my private investigator confirms they're selling the pills to a network of buyers. The PI was expensive, but worth it. I need to know exactly who Melissa is selling to because in my first life, one of those buyers died. That's what triggered the DEA investigation. His name was Tyler Ramos, 23 years old. He bought 30 oxycodone pills from Connor in August 2019, took 12 in one night, and never woke up. His mother found him the next morning. Tyler's death broke my heart in my first life. Even though I'd never met him, even though I didn't directly cause his death, I couldn't stop thinking about him. A kid, barely older than my youngest patients, dead because my pills ended up in the wrong hands. I can't save him. I know that. If I intervene now, if I somehow prevent Melissa from selling to Connor who sells to Tyler, the timeline changes in ways I can't predict. I might save Tyler but end up in prison anyway through some other route. The only way to guarantee my freedom is to control the investigation. So I do something that will haunt me for the rest of this life. I don't warn anyone about Tyler. Instead, on August 2nd, 2019, 3 weeks before Tyler's scheduled death, I send an anonymous tip to the DEA. There's a doctor at Metropolitan Hospital illegally prescribing controlled substances. She's working with her sister to distribute pills. People are going to die. Check prescription records for Dr. Sophie Martinez, NPI number, redacted. Her sister is Melissa Martinez. They're both involved. I send it from a burner phone, from a library computer, untraceable. Then I wait. The DEA doesn't move fast. That's not how federal investigations work. They gather evidence, build a case. In my first timeline, they didn't arrest me until September 2020, over a year after Tyler's death. But I'm not waiting a year. I spend August in a state of controlled anxiety. I go to work, I do my job, I live my life. But every time my phone rings, every time someone knocks on my door, my heart races. Melissa is getting bolder. She's not even pretending anymore. She comes over and asks outright for pills, and when I refuse, she pouts but doesn't leave angry. She knows where I hide my prescription pads now. She's learned my routine. On August 18th, I come home to find my apartment has been searched. Not ransacked, but gone through carefully. My medicine cabinet is cleaned out. My desk drawer, where I keep prescription pads, is empty. I text Melissa, "Did you take my prescription pads?" Her response comes an hour later. What? No, why would I do that? They're missing, along with all my medication. Maybe you misplaced them. You've been so stressed lately. I take photos of everything. I file a police report. The officer who takes my statement seems skeptical. You think your sister stole prescription pads from you? I know she did. Have you noticed any forged prescriptions? No, but I want this documented in case some does show up. He writes it down, but I can tell he thinks I'm paranoid. That's fine. When the DEA comes, this report will be in the system. August 24th, the day Tyler Ramos is supposed to die. I call in sick to work and spend the day in my apartment, compulsively checking news websites. I don't know exactly when it will happen, early evening in my first timeline, I think, but I can't remember precisely. At 6:47 p.m., the story breaks on Twitter. Young man found dead in apparent overdose in Queens. No name yet. At 8:15 p.m., the local news identifies him. Tyler Ramos, 23. At 9:30 p.m., my phone rings. It's Melissa. Sophie. She sounds terrified. Sophie, something happened. Connor's friend, this guy we know, he died. They're saying it was pills. Oh my God, I say, because I'm supposed to be shocked. What kind of pills? I don't know. Oxy, maybe? Sophie, what if they were. She stops. What if they were what? Nothing. Never mind. I'm just freaking out. Melissa. I make my voice gentle. Were they your pills? From your prescription? No, I mean, I don't know. Connor knows a lot of people. It might not be related at all. But her voice is shaking, and I know the truth. She sold Connor the pills. Connor sold them to Tyler. And now Tyler is dead. You should talk to a lawyer, I tell her. What? Why? I didn't do anything. If Connor is involved, you might get pulled into the investigation. Just protect yourself, okay? She's crying now. This is so fucked up. That poor guy, his poor family. I want to feel sorry for her. Some small part of me, the part that's still the naive Sophie from before, wants to comfort my baby sister. But I remember prison. I remember the other inmates who wouldn't talk to me because I was a doctor who killed people. I remember my mother crying at visiting hours, my father unable to look me in the eye. I remember Melissa at my trial, testifying that I was the one who initiated everything, that I pressured her to help me sell pills, that she was just trying to protect her sister and got manipulated. I'm sorry, Mel, I say, and I mean it. I'm sorry a man died. I'm sorry my sister is a monster. I'm sorry I can't save her. I'm sorry I have to destroy her. But I'm not sorry enough to stop. The DEA moves faster this time. My anonymous tip, combined with Tyler's death, puts me on their radar immediately. On September 3rd, 2 agents show up at the hospital asking to speak with me. I've been expecting this. I've rehearsed this. Dr. Martinez? The taller agent flashes a badge. I'm Special Agent Chen. This is Special Agent Rodriguez. We'd like to ask you some questions about your prescribing practices. My heart is pounding, but I keep my voice steady. Of course, should I have a lawyer present? That's your right, Chen says. But we're just gathering information at this point. We're investigating the death of Tyler Ramos. Do you know that name? No, I say truthfully. Should I? He died from an oxycodone overdose. The pills were traced back to a prescription written in your name. I let my eyes widen. That's impossible. I would never prescribe oxycodone to someone I don't know. Can I see the prescription? Rodriguez pulls out a photocopy. It's my DEA number, my signature, or a close forgery. Prescribed to Michael Torres for severe back pain. 30 pills, no refills. I didn't write this, I say immediately. That's not my signature, and I don't have any patient named Michael Torres. Could someone have stolen your prescription pad? Yes, actually. I pull out my phone, navigate to my photos. I filed a police report on August 18th. My apartment was broken into and prescription pads were stolen from my desk. I show them the report. Chen and Rodriguez exchange glances. Do you know who might have taken them? Chen asks. Here it is, the moment I've been building toward. I think it was my sister, I say quietly. They take me to a DEA field office for formal questioning. I go voluntarily without my lawyer because I need to seem cooperative. Innocent people cooperate. For 6 hours, I tell them everything. I tell them about Melissa's first request for pills, how I refused. I show them my documentation, the notebook I've been keeping, the text messages from my parents pressuring me, the video footage of Melissa stealing from my apartment. Why didn't you report this to the police earlier? Rodriguez asks. She's my sister, I say, and I let my voice break. I thought I could handle it privately. I changed my locks. I started hiding my prescription pads. But she must have made copies of my key at some point. I filed the report on August 18th when I realized how serious it had gotten. But you gave her pills on at least one occasion, Chen points out. We have you on camera handing her a pill bottle. One Xanax, I correct. One pill, one time, because she showed up at my apartment in crisis saying her boyfriend had hit her. The camera footage shows me explicitly telling her it was a one-time emergency and she needed to see her own doctor. After that, everything was stolen. And you didn't notice your prescription pads going missing before August? I rarely use paper prescriptions anymore. Everything is electronic. I kept a few pads at home for emergencies, but I wasn't checking them regularly. I meet Chen's eyes. If I was illegally prescribing controlled substances, would I have filed a police report about the theft? Would I have documented every interaction with my sister? Maybe, Chen says. If you knew we were coming, how would I know that? Your sister's boyfriend, Connor Nash, says you've been supplying them with pills for over a year. He says you recruited your sister to help you sell them. I laugh. It comes out bitter. Connor Nash is a liar and a drug dealer. Check his record. Has he been arrested before? Multiple times, Rodriguez admits. Possession, intent to distribute. And I'm a doctor with no criminal history, no disciplinary actions, who filed a police report about my sister stealing from me 3 weeks before this investigation started. I lean forward. I know how this looks. I know my pills ended up in the hands of someone who died, but I'm not a drug dealer. I'm a victim of theft, and I have evidence to prove it. Chen and Rodriguez step out to confer. I sit alone in the interrogation room, my hands shaking now that no one's watching. This is the moment where my first life diverged into nightmare. In that timeline, I had no documentation, no video evidence, just my word against Melissa's and Connor's. The DEA believed I was guilty, and everything I said sounded like excuses. This time, I have proof. They come back in an hour later. We're going to need to verify your evidence, Chen says. We'll need access to your apartment, your devices, your financial records. Of course, I say. I'll cooperate fully. I want you to catch whoever is forging prescriptions in my name. Rodriguez looks uncomfortable. Dr. Martinez, we need to be clear. You're not under arrest, but you are a person of interest in this investigation. We recommend you retain legal counsel. I have a lawyer, I tell them. Her name is Patricia Marsh. You can contact her to arrange any further interviews or searches. They let me go at midnight. I walk out of the DEA building into the cool September night, and I don't feel relieved. I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, because this is where it gets complicated. The next day, they arrest Melissa. I'm at work when I get the call from my mother. She's hysterical. They took her, Sophie. The DEA took Melissa. They're saying she forged prescriptions, that she's responsible for someone's death. Mom, you did this. You told them she stole from you. How could you do this to your own sister? Mom, she did steal from me. She committed multiple felonies. Someone died because of the pills she sold. She made a mistake. She's sick. She needs help, not prison. My mother is sobbing now. Please, Sophie, please tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them you gave her permission to use your prescription pads. And there it is. The same ask that destroyed me in my first life. Take the fall for your sister. Sacrifice yourself for family. I can't do that, Mom, I say softly, because it's not true. You're really going to let your sister go to prison? Melissa is going to prison because she committed crimes. Federal crimes. I didn't make her do that. You're selfish, my mother spits. You've always been selfish. Your father and I are ashamed of you. She hangs up. I stand in the hospital hallway, the phone dead in my hand, and I don't cry. I cried all my tears in my first life. I have none left for this one. An hour later, my father calls. Sophie, I need you to think very carefully about what you're doing, he says. His voice is cold, controlled. Melissa is facing, 20 years in federal prison. 20 years. Do you understand what that means? Yes. She'll lose everything, her entire life. She should have thought about that before she forged prescriptions and sold drugs. God damn it, Sophie. The control breaks. She's your sister, your baby sister. How can you be so heartless? How can you ask me to go to prison for her? I shoot back. Because that's what you're asking. You want me to lie to federal investigators and say I gave Melissa permission to forge my signature and steal my prescription pads. That would make me guilty of conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. I would lose my medical license. I would go to prison. You're a doctor. You'd get a lighter sentence. Melissa has nothing. She'd get the maximum. I close my eyes. You want me to trade my life for hers. I want you to protect your family. She's not protecting me, I point out. Her boyfriend is telling the DEA that I recruited them to sell pills. Melissa hasn't contradicted that story. She's trying to frame me, Dad. Silence. Then us. I don't believe that. Believe what you want. I have evidence that I'm innocent. Video footage of Melissa stealing from my apartment. A police report filed before this investigation started. Documentation of every time I refused to give her pills. I'm not going to prison for her crimes. Then you're not my daughter, he says, and hangs up. I sit down on the floor of the on-call room, my back against the wall, and I stare at nothing. In my first life, this phone call broke me. I called Melissa's public defender and said I would take a plea deal. I would say the whole thing was my idea. I served 3 years, lost my license, lost everything. In this life, I text my lawyer. They're pressuring me to take the fall. I need you to make a statement that I'm cooperating fully with the investigation and maintaining my innocence. Marsh responds immediately. On it. Don't talk to your parents without me present. I almost laugh. My parents aren't going to talk to me at all. The investigation expands rapidly. The DEA traces the forged prescriptions back to multiple pharmacies across 3 boroughs. They find Connor's buyer network, 17 people who purchased pills from him over the course of 6 months. They discover that Melissa used my identity to open that credit card and charged over $12,000 before I froze my credit. They also discover that I've been documenting everything. This is remarkable, Agent Chen tells me during our 3rd interview, my lawyer present this time. I've never seen a victim maintain this level of evidence. My sister betrayed me, I say simply. I wanted proof. When did you start documenting? March 22nd, the first time she asked me for pills. That's very specific. I shrug. She'd never asked me for medication before. It felt wrong. I started keeping track in case it became a pattern. Chen flips through the notebook I've provided. Months of entries. Dates, times, exact quotes where I can remember them. Photos of my prescription pad inventories. Screenshots of texts. You know what this looks like, Chen says carefully. It looks like you knew something was going to happen. My lawyer tenses beside me, but I keep my expression neutral. It looks like I didn't trust my sister, and I was right not to. Or it looks like you were planning to use her as a scapegoat from the beginning, Rodriguez suggests. Set her up, create evidence of your innocence while you were actually running the operation. If I was running a prescription drug operation, I wouldn't have filed a police report about prescription pads being stolen. I wouldn't have maintained detailed records of refusing my sister's requests. I wouldn't have installed security cameras that show her stealing from me. I lean forward. I would have destroyed evidence, not created it. Marsh puts a hand on my arm. My client has been extremely cooperative. She's provided you with extensive evidence of Ms. Melissa Martinez's criminal activity. If you're suggesting Dr. Martinez is somehow responsible for her sister's actions, we'll need to see your evidence of that. Chen and Rodriguez exchange glances. We're not accusing Dr. Martinez of anything, Chen says finally. We're establishing a timeline. Melissa Martinez is claiming that her sister pressured her into forging prescriptions, that Dr. Martinez was the mastermind behind the operation. That's demonstrably false, Marsh says. The evidence shows I know what the evidence shows, Chen interrupts. But I need to understand why Dr. Martinez was so thorough in creating it. Most people who suspect a family member of theft don't install hidden cameras and maintain detailed logs. They confront the family member. They cut off contact. They don't prepare for a federal investigation. There's a long silence. This is the question I've been dreading. Because Chen is right. My level of documentation is unusual. Suspicious, even. Normal people don't behave this way, but I'm not a normal person. I'm someone who lived through this nightmare once already. You want to know why I documented everything? I say quietly. Because I knew my family would take her side. I knew that if it came down to my word against Melissa's, my parents would believe her. I knew I needed proof because being right wouldn't be enough. That's quite paranoid, Rodriguez observes. Is it? My parents have called me every day for the past week demanding I lie to protect Melissa. My mother said she's ashamed of me. My father said I'm not his daughter anymore. I look at both agents. I grew up as the responsible one, the one who always had to sacrifice for the family. Melissa was the baby, the one who got away with everything. I knew that if this went bad, I would be blamed unless I had irrefutable evidence of my innocence. Chen writes something in his notebook. When did you realize Melissa had a substance abuse problem? When she first asked me for pills. I'm a doctor. I know what addiction looks like. The way she asked, the desperation under the casual request. I said no, but I knew she wouldn't stop. So you set her up. No, I say firmly. I protected myself. There's a difference. Is there? Chen closes his notebook. Dr. Martinez, I'm going to be honest with you. Your evidence is compelling. The video footage, the police report, the documentation, it all supports your claim that Melissa was stealing from you. But the timing is suspicious. You started documenting the exact day she first approached you. You filed a police report weeks before our investigation began. You have an answer for everything. Because I'm telling the truth. Or because you're very good at covering your tracks. Marsh stands up. Unless you have evidence that my client committed a crime, this interview is over. We walk out together. In the parking garage, Marsh turns to me. They think you're lying, she says bluntly. I know. They think you orchestrated this whole thing, got Melissa to do your dirty work, then framed her when the heat came down. They're wrong. Are they? Marsh studies my face. Sophie, I've been a criminal defense attorney for 20 years. I've seen a lot of guilty people proclaim their innocence. But I've never seen an innocent person prepare for an investigation the way you did. It's uncanny, like you knew exactly what was coming. I meet her eyes. I knew my sister, that's all. If you're hiding something, I'm not. She sighs. Okay, but you need to be prepared for the possibility that they'll charge you anyway. You gave Melissa at least one pill. That's on video. They could argue you were part of the conspiracy, that you're using the documentation as cover. Will the jury believe that? I don't know. Depends on how they see you. Are you the careful, responsible doctor who documented abuse? Or are you the mastermind who set up an elaborate alibi? I think about the jury in my first life. They saw me as guilty. They believed Melissa's tears and Connor's testimony. They didn't believe that a doctor could be that naive, that trusting. This jury will see different evidence. They'll see a woman who protected herself, who knew her family wouldn't support her and prepared accordingly. They'll believe me, I say with more confidence than I feel. Because I'm telling the truth. Marsh doesn't look convinced, but she nods. Let's hope you're right. Melissa's arraignment is scheduled for October 15th. I'm not planning to attend, but Connor Nash's lawyer calls me 3 days before. Dr. Martinez, I represent Connor Nash, the lawyer says. His name is Goldstein, and he sounds tired. I'd like to discuss a possible cooperation agreement. I'm not interested in helping Connor. Hear me out. Connor is willing to testify that Melissa Martinez was the one who recruited him into the prescription drug scheme. He'll say she stole the prescription pads from you without your knowledge, forged the prescriptions herself, and used him to distribute the pills. I sit down slowly. In exchange for what? Reduced charges. He's facing 15 to 20 years. If he cooperates, the prosecutor might offer 5 with parole eligibility after 3. And what does he want from me? A statement supporting his testimony, confirmation that Melissa had access to your apartment, that she could have stolen the prescription pads without you knowing. Which is true, I say. Yes, but Connor's credibility is shot. He's a known drug dealer. The prosecutor won't believe him without corroboration. Goldstein pauses. Connor is willing to admit his role in the distribution. He'll take responsibility for selling the pills that killed Tyler Ramos. But he wants it on record that Melissa was the one who provided the pills, not you. Why would he do that? Because he's looking at spending the rest of his 30s in federal prison, and he's terrified. Because Melissa has been telling the DEA that Connor manipulated her, that she was just trying to help her boyfriend, that she's the real victim here, and Connor doesn't want to be the only one going down. I think about this. In my first life, Connor and Melissa presented a united front. They both blamed me. It was 2 against 1 and I lost. Now they're turning on each other. What happens if I don't support his testimony? I ask. Then Connor will probably take a plea deal where he testifies that you and Melissa were both involved in the conspiracy, that you recruited Melissa to help you and she recruited him. 3 people sharing the blame instead of 2. A threat, barely veiled. I'll think about it, I say, and hang up. Marsh calls me 5 minutes later. Connor's lawyer just contacted me. He called me too. What are you going to do? I stare out my apartment window at the city skyline. Somewhere out there, Melissa is in a holding cell, probably scared, probably angry, probably still insisting she's the victim. I'm going to tell the truth, I say. Melissa did steal the prescription pads from me. She did have access to my apartment. Connor's testimony will support my statement that I was a victim of theft, not a co-conspirator. You understand that this essentially seals Melissa's fate? If both you and Connor testify against her, she has no defense. She doesn't have a defense anyway. The evidence is overwhelming. The evidence that you created, Marsh points out. Sophie, I need to know. Did you set this whole thing up? Did you somehow manipulate Melissa into stealing from you so you could frame her? No. Because if you did, if any of this comes out at trial, I didn't manipulate her, I say firmly. I documented her crimes. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? I close my eyes. Melissa made her own choices. I just made sure I had proof of my innocence. Okay. Marsh doesn't sound entirely convinced. I'll tell Connor's lawyer you're willing to give a statement, but Sophie, be careful. The prosecutor's going to scrutinize every aspect of your story. If there's anything you're not telling me, there isn't. Then we'll get through this. After we hang up, I sit in the dark apartment and think about choices. In my first life, I chose to trust Melissa. I chose to believe she was in pain, that she needed help, that family meant something. Those choices destroyed me. In this life, I chose to protect myself. I chose to document, to prepare, to control the narrative. These choices are destroying Melissa. Am I the villain in this story? Maybe. But I'm free. The prosecutor's office contacts me in November. They want me to testify before a grand jury. This is good, Marsh tells me. If they wanted to indict you, they wouldn't need your testimony. They're building a case against Melissa. What if they're building a case against both of us? Then they'd be giving you immunity in exchange for testimony. They haven't offered that. So I'm not a target? You're a witness, Marsh says. A complicated witness with a lot of documentation, but a witness nonetheless. I testify for 3 hours. The grand jury room is smaller than I expected, packed with citizens who watch me with varying degrees of suspicion and curiosity. I tell them about Melissa's first request, my refusal, her escalating behavior. I walk them through the documentation, the video footage, the police report. "Why didn't you cut off contact with your sister?" one juror asks. "She's my sister," I say simply. "I wanted to believe she would stop. I wanted to believe I was wrong about her." "But you installed cameras?" "I installed cameras to protect myself while hoping I wouldn't need them?" That seems contradictory. "It's family," I say. "It's always contradictory." They deliberate for 40 minutes and return an indictment against Melissa Martinez on 12 counts: forging prescriptions, identity theft, conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, wire fraud, and more. No indictment against me. I walk out of the courthouse into November rain, and I feel nothing. No relief, no victory, just exhaustion. Melissa's trial is set for March 2020. My parents don't contact me for Thanksgiving. I spend the holiday alone in my apartment, eating Chinese takeout and watching old movies. My phone stays silent. In my first life, I spent Thanksgiving 2019 in jail, waiting for trial. The food was awful, the guards were cruel, and my mother cried through the entire visit. She brought me pumpkin pie in a plastic container, and I couldn't eat it because I was too nauseous from anxiety. This Thanksgiving, I have good food and freedom and solitude. I'll take it. December comes. Melissa's lawyer reaches out through Marsh. She wants to make a deal, Marsh tells me. Plead guilty to reduced charges in exchange for testimony that you weren't involved. What charges? Theft? Forging prescriptions? Intent to distribute? They'd drop the conspiracy charges and recommend 10 years instead of 20. And she has to admit I wasn't part of it? Yes, full exoneration for you in writing. I think about this. 10 years. Melissa would be 40 when she got out. She'd miss her entire 30s, her best years gone. In my first life, I served 3 years and came out broken. My license revoked, my reputation destroyed, my family ashamed. I was 37 with no career, no prospects, no hope. Melissa would get 10 years, but she'd get out at 40 with her whole life ahead of her. She could start over, go to rehab, get clean, build something. Will she take it? I ask. Her lawyer thinks so. She doesn't want to risk trial. The evidence against her is overwhelming. Then tell them yes, I say. I won't oppose the deal. Marsh is quiet for a moment. You're letting her off easy. 10 years in federal prison isn't easy. It's better than 20. Yes, I agree. It is. Because I'm not a monster. I'm not trying to destroy Melissa's entire life. I'm just protecting mine. The plea agreement is finalized in January 2020. Melissa pleads guilty to 6 felonies and is sentenced to 10 years in federal prison with parole eligibilities after 7. I don't attend the sentencing, but Marsh does, and she tells me that Melissa cried, that my parents were there weeping, that my mother tried to read a victim impact statement about how I'd ruined the family. The judge didn't allow it. You're not the victim here, Judge Morrison told my mother. Your daughter stole her sister's identity, forged prescriptions, and contributed to a young man's death. Dr. Sophie Martinez is the victim, not you. My mother left the courthouse sobbing. I should feel vindicated. I mostly feel tired. Connor Nash gets 5 years as part of his cooperation agreement. He testifies at Melissa's sentencing that she was the one who recruited him, who provided the pills, who pushed him to expand their buyer network. It's not entirely true. In my first timeline, Connor was the instigator. But in this timeline, with me refusing to provide pills, maybe Melissa did push harder. Maybe she became the desperate one, the one driving the operation. Or maybe Connor is just a liar trying to reduce his sentence. Either way, it doesn't matter. Melissa is in prison. Connor is in prison. I am free. Tyler Ramos is still dead. That's the part that haunts me. In both timelines, Tyler dies. I couldn't save him. I didn't even try. I Google his family sometimes. His mother started a foundation for addiction awareness. His younger sister speaks at high schools about prescription drug abuse. They've made meaning from their grief. I wonder if they'd hate me if they knew I could have prevented his death. If I'd acted sooner, pushed the investigation earlier, maybe Tyler would have lived, but then maybe Melissa wouldn't have been caught. Maybe I'd be in prison instead. I made a choice. I chose myself. I have to live with that. February 2020. The DEA closes its investigation into me. Agent Chen delivers the news himself. Dr. Martinez, after extensive review of the evidence, we've determined that you were the victim of identity theft and prescription fraud by your sister, Melissa Martinez. No charges will be filed against you. Thank you, I say. I have to ask. Chen leans forward. How did you know? Know what? That you needed to document everything. That your sister would try to frame you. Most people wouldn't have thought of half the things you did. I meet his eyes. I knew my family. I knew how this would go. That's it? Just instinct? Experience, I correct Tay. I grew up watching Melissa get away with things. I knew that if something went wrong, I'd be blamed. I protected myself. Chen studies me for a long moment. You know what I think? What? I think you're either the unluckiest person I've ever met or the smartest. I can't decide which. Can it be both? He laughs, surprising himself. Yeah, I guess it can. He leaves, and I'm alone in my apartment with the official letter clearing my name. In my first life, I never got this letter. I got a conviction, a prison sentence, a lifetime of regret. In this life, I'm free. So why don't I feel victorious? March 20. COVID-19 shuts down the world. The hospital becomes a war zone. I work 18-hour shifts, watching patients die alone because their families can't visit. I hold phones so people can say goodbye to their loved ones through a screen. Melissa is locked in federal prison during a pandemic. Prisoners are dying of COVID by the dozens. I don't know if she's safe, if she's sick. My parents won't tell me. We haven't spoken since the trial. I think about calling them, asking if Melissa is okay, trying to rebuild some semblance of family. But then I remember my mother testifying that I'd ruined everything. My father saying I wasn't his daughter. The way they looked at me in court. Like I was the monster, not Melissa. Some bridges burned too hot to ever rebuild. April 2020. I get a letter from Melissa. It's short. Sophie, I'm sorry for all of it. I was using and I was desperate, and I convinced myself that you owed me. That you had it easy because you were smart and I was the screw-up. I thought I could use you and get away with it. And when it all fell apart, I panicked. Connor told me to blame you. He said doctors always get lighter sentences, that you'd be fine. I knew it was wrong, but I did it anyway. I watched that video of me stealing from your apartment. The one the prosecutor played at my plea hearing. I looked like a stranger. I don't know who that person was. I know you'll probably never forgive me. I don't even know if I'm asking you to. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry and that you were right to protect yourself. I would have destroyed you if I could have. I'm in a program here, rehab, therapy, the whole thing. I don't know if it'll work. But I'm trying. I hope you're okay. Melissa. I read the letter 3 times. In my first life, Melissa never apologized. Not once. She maintained until the end that I was the guilty one, that she was just trying to help her boyfriend. This apology is something. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but acknowledgement. I don't write back. I'm not ready for that. Maybe I never will be. June 2020. The hospital starts to stabilize. The first wave of COVID is receding. I've been promoted to chief resident, an honor I never got in my first life because I was in prison. My apartment is full of plants now. I've taken up cooking. I'm seeing a therapist once a week, unpacking the trauma of rebirth and revenge and everything in between. Dr. Walsh, my therapist, asks me one day, "Do you regret it?" Regret what? Letting your sister go to prison? Choosing yourself over family? I think about this carefully. No. Why not? Because I stop myself before saying, in my first life. Walsh doesn't know about the rebirth. No one does. Because Melissa made her choices. She stole from me. She committed crimes. She was willing to let me take the fall. Why should I regret protecting myself? Family is complicated, Walsh says. Society tells us we should sacrifice for family, especially women, especially older sisters. Society also tells us not to commit felonies. She smiles. Fair point, but you seem conflicted. I am conflicted, I admit. I don't regret sending Melissa to prison. She deserves to be there. But I regret that it came to this. I regret that my family chose her over me. I regret that a man died because of pills that had my name on them. But you didn't kill him. No, but I could have prevented it. How? If I'd reported Melissa sooner, if I'd pushed harder to stop her. You did report her, Walsh points out. You filed a police report. You documented everything. You cooperated with the investigation. I could have done more. You could have destroyed yourself trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved, Walsh corrects. Melissa was an addict. She was going to get those pills one way or another. If not from you, from someone else. Tyler Ramos might have died anyway. Might have. Probably would have, Walsh says gently. Addiction isn't logical. It doesn't respond to one person's intervention. You're not responsible for your sister's choices or for Tyler's death. I want to believe her. Some days I do. September 2020, 1 year after Tyler's death. His mother holds a memorial service that gets covered by local news. I watch from my couch, tears streaming down my face. Mrs. Ramos talks about her son, his smile, his dreams, his struggles with addiction. She talks about the people who fed his addiction, who sold him pills, who contributed to his death. She doesn't mention my name. The plea agreement sealed the records. Legally, my involvement is protected. But I know I send an anonymous donation to Tyler's foundation. $5,000. It won't bring him back. It won't absolve my guilt, but it's something. October 2020. My parents sell their house and move to Florida. They don't tell me. I find out from an old neighbor who sees the moving truck. I drive by the house one last time. It's empty, windows dark. All my childhood memories packed into boxes and shipped away. I don't feel sad. I feel free. November 2020, Thanksgiving again. This time, I spend it with friends from the hospital. We cook together, laugh together, drink too much wine, and fall asleep watching football. No one asks about my family. Everyone knows I'm better off alone. December 2020, 2 years since I woke up in this timeline. 2 years of rebuilding, surviving, winning. I get a message on LinkedIn from Melissa. Her account is managed by someone outside prison, probably a rehabilitation program coordinator. Hi, Sophie. I know we haven't talked since I wrote you that letter. I don't expect a response. But I wanted you to know that I've been sober for 1 year. I'm taking college classes through the prison program. I'm trying to be better. I saw an article about your promotion to chief resident. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. I know I don't have the right to say that anymore. But I am. Melissa. I stare at the message for a long time. Then I click archive. I'm not ready. Maybe someday. March 2021, the second anniversary of my rebirth. I mark the occasion by treating myself to an expensive dinner alone. The waiter asks if I'm celebrating anything. Yes, I say. A second chance? I don't explain. He brings me champagne anyway. I sit in the restaurant surrounded by couples and families, utterly alone. And for the first time in this entire timeline, I feel at peace. I made choices that hurt people. I prioritized myself over family. I let a man die because saving him might have cost me my freedom. I'm not a hero, but I'm not a victim anymore either. I'm just Sophie Martinez, chief resident, survivor, free woman. That's enough. June 21. Agent Chen calls me out of the blue. Dr. Martinez, I thought you should know. We arrested another doctor in Queens running a prescription drug operation. When we raided his office, we found records showing he'd been tracking your case. What? He was using your case as a blueprint. Figured out from the trial transcripts how to cover his tracks better, how to avoid the mistakes your sister made. I sit down heavily. So, my case helped create another criminal? No, Chen says firmly. Your case helped us catch him. Because we knew what to look for. The patterns you documented, the warning signs you identified, we used all of it. We shut him down before anyone died. Oh. I thought you'd want to know that the evidence you provided, the documentation you created, it's saving lives. We're using it to train agents on prescription fraud cases. After we hang up, I sit in stunned silence. Something good came from this nightmare, something useful. Tyler still died, Melissa is still in prison, my family is still broken, but maybe it wasn't all for nothing. September 2021. I get a letter from Tyler's mother. Dear Dr. Martinez, the prosecutor's office told me I could contact you if I wanted. I wasn't sure if I should, but I've been thinking about you a lot lately. I know what my son's death cost you. The investigation, the scrutiny, the family you lost protecting yourself. I know that pills prescribed in your name killed my Tyler, but I also know you didn't prescribe them. You were a victim, just like my son. I don't blame you. I want you to know that. What your sister did was evil. What my son's dealer did was evil. But you were just trying to be a good sister, and it got weaponized against you. I heard you donated to Tyler's foundation. Thank you. We're using that money to provide Narcan to schools and community centers. You might have helped save someone's life with that donation. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you've found peace. I forgive you for whatever guilt you might be carrying. Tyler wouldn't want you to suffer. Sincerely, Maria Ramos. I cry for an hour after reading it. Then I write back. Dear Mrs. Ramos, thank you for your grace. I don't deserve it, but I'm grateful for it. I think about Tyler often. I wish I could have stopped what happened. I wish a lot of things. I'm donating to the foundation again this year, and every year going forward. It won't bring Tyler back, but maybe it will help someone else's son. I'm so sorry for your loss, Sophie. December 2021. 3 years in this timeline. I'm 32 years old, chief resident, single, estranged from my family, alive, free, whole. Melissa has 4 more years on her sentence. My parents send a Christmas card to my hospital address. Just a generic card, no personal message. But it's signed with both their names. It's something. I send one back, January 2022. I apply for an attending position at the hospital. My interview goes well. The hiring committee doesn't mention the DEA investigation. It's sealed, expunged from my record as part of the final determination of my victim status. But they know. Everyone knows. Dr. Martinez, the chief of medicine, says, you've shown remarkable resilience in the face of extraordinary circumstances. We'd be honored to have you on staff. I get the job, February 2022. Melissa calls me from prison. I almost don't answer. Sophie, her voice is small. I'm up for parole review next year. They want character references. I know I have no right to ask, but I'll do it, I say. Silence, then. Really? You've been sober for 2 years. You're taking classes. You apologized. I'm not going to sabotage your chance at parole. Thank you. She's crying. Thank you so much. Melissa. Yeah. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do, not because we're okay. We're not okay. I don't know if we'll ever be okay. I know. But I want you to have a chance to rebuild your life. You deserve that. I don't deserve anything from you. No, I agree that you don't. But I'm giving it to you anyway. After we hang up, I sit with the phone in my hand and wonder who I'm becoming. Not the naive Sophie from my first life, who trusted too easily and paid for it. Not the vengeful Sophie from my rebirth, who documented everything and showed no mercy. Someone in between. Someone who can protect herself and still show grace. Someone who learned to survive. March 2002. 4 years since my rebirth. Melissa's parole hearing. I write a letter to the parole board. My sister, Melissa Martinez, committed serious crimes against me. She stole my identity, forged prescriptions in my name, and attempted to frame me for her actions. Her choices led to a young man's death and nearly destroyed my life. However, over the past 4 years, I have witnessed her genuine efforts at rehabilitation. She has maintained sobriety, completed educational programs, and taken full responsibility for her actions without making excuses. While I cannot forget what she did, I believe she has earned the opportunity to demonstrate her rehabilitation outside of prison walls. I support her parole application. Respectfully, Dr. Sophie Martinez Melissa is granted parole. She'll be released in June with strict conditions: halfway house for 6 months, mandatory drug testing, community service, continued therapy. She calls me the day she finds out. "I got it," she sobbed. Sophie, I got parole." "I'm glad," I say, and I mean it. "Will you, can I see you when I get out?" I hesitate. "I don't know, Mel." Okay, I understand. But thank you for the letter, for giving me a chance." "Don't waste it," I tell her. "I won't, I promise." June 2023. Melissa is released from federal prison. I don't go to pick her up. My parents do. They flew up from Florida for the occasion. But she emails me a photo of herself outside the prison gates, squinting in the sunlight. She looks older, thinner, harder, but also lighter, like a weight has been lifted. "First day of the rest of my life," she writes. "Thank you for making this possible." I don't respond immediately. I'm not ready for a relationship with my sister. Maybe I never will be. But I am ready to let go of the anger. September 2023. Melissa completes her halfway house program and moves into her own apartment. She's working at a rehab center, helping other addicts. She's been sober for 4 years. She sends me photos sometimes. Her apartment, small but clean. Her garden, vegetables growing in pots on the balcony. Her cat, a scraggly orange thing she rescued from a shelter. She's building a life. I'm happy for her, from a distance. December 2023, Christmas. My parents invite both Melissa and me to Florida. I decline. But I send a gift, a donation to Tyler's foundation in the Ramos family name. $5,000, just like every year. Melissa sends me a text. "I saw the donation. Tyler's mom posted about it on the foundation website." "That was you, wasn't it?" "Yes," I reply. "That's beautiful, Soph. Really beautiful. It's the least I can do." "Can I donate too? Even if it's just a little?" I think about this. Tyler died because of pills Melissa sold. Is it appropriate for her to donate to his memorial foundation? "Yes," I text back. "I think Mrs. Ramos would appreciate that." March 2024. 5 years since my rebirth. I'm 34, the age I was when I died in my first life. I spend the day at the hospital, saving lives, teaching residents, doing the work I lost the first time around. That night, I treat myself to the same restaurant where I celebrated my second chance 3 years ago. The same waiter is working. "Celebrating again?" he asks. "Yes," I say, "mais 5 years of survival." He brings champagne. "To survival," he toasts. "To survival," I echo. And for the first time, I think about the Sophie who died in that prison infirmary. The naive, trusting, broken Sophie, who lost everything because she loved her family too much. I'm not her anymore. I'm someone who learned that self-preservation isn't selfish, that protecting yourself doesn't make you a villain, that sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who claim to love you. I'm someone who chose herself, even when it cost everything. And I survived. June 2024. Melissa calls me. "Sophie, I know we haven't talked much, but I'm getting my 5-year sobriety chip tomorrow, and I was wondering if you'd come to the ceremony." I almost say no. It's been 5 years since I woke up in this timeline. 5 years of rebuilding, and I've done it without her. But then I think about the letter from Mrs. Ramos, about forgiveness, about grace. "Okay," I say. "I'll come." The ceremony is in a church basement, fluorescent lights and metal chairs. Melissa sits in front with other people celebrating sobriety milestones. When they call her name, she walks to the front and accepts her chip. 5 years ago, I was in federal prison facing a decade behind bars, she says. Her voice shakes but holds steady. I was an addict, a thief, and a liar. I hurt everyone I loved, especially my sister. I blamed her for my mistakes. I tried to ruin her life to save myself. She looks at me in the audience. She had every reason to hate me, to let me rot in prison, to cut me out of her life forever. But she didn't. She wrote a letter supporting my parole. She gave me a second chance I didn't deserve. Tears are streaming down her face now. I'm sober today because my sister showed me that redemption is possible. That even when you've done terrible things, you can still choose to be better. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn the grace she showed me. Everyone claps. I sit frozen, tears blurring my vision. After the ceremony, Melissa approaches me cautiously. Thank you for coming, she says. You did good up there, I tell her. Can we get coffee sometime? Just talk? I look at my sister, this woman who destroyed me in another life, who I destroyed in this one. This stranger who shares my blood and my history and nothing else. Yeah, I say, we can get coffee. September 2024. Melissa and I have coffee once a month. We don't talk about the past much. We talk about her job at the rehab center, my research on prescription drug monitoring systems, safe topics that don't hurt. It's not forgiveness. It's not even reconciliation. It's just something. A fragile connection, carefully maintained. December 2024, 6 years since my rebirth. My parents come to New York for Christmas, their first visit since Melissa's arrest. We have dinner together, all four of us. It's awkward and stilted and painful, but it's also family. My mother apologizes. I shouldn't have taken Melissa's side without question. I should have believed you. You believed your youngest daughter was in trouble, I say. I understand. But we abandoned you when you needed us most. Yes, I agree. You did. There's a long silence. I'm sorry, Sophie, my father says. Truly sorry. I nod. I forgive you. Do I mean it? I don't know, but I say it anyway. Because holding on to anger is exhausting, and I've been angry for 6 years. Maybe it's time to try something else. Today, December 14th, 2025. Nearly 7 years since I woke up in this timeline with memories of a life that went horribly wrong. I'm 35 years old, an attending physician, published researcher on prescription drug abuse prevention, regular donor to Tyler Ramos's foundation. My relationship with my family is complicated but improving. Melissa and I text regularly. My parents visit twice a year. I'm dating someone, a man I met at a medical conference who knows nothing about my past and likes me anyway. I have a full life. A good life. A life I fought for. Sometimes I still think about the DEA investigation that named us both. How I turned Melissa's crimes against her. How I documented everything, controlled the narrative, made sure I survived even if it meant my sister went to prison. Was it revenge, justice, self-preservation? All of the above, probably. I used my knowledge from my first life to destroy my sister before she could destroy me. I let a man die because saving him might have complicated my plans. I manipulated the investigation, the evidence, the outcome. I'm not a hero in this story, but I'm not a victim either. I'm a woman who was given a second chance and used it to save herself, who learned that sometimes survival means being ruthless, that protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Would I do it differently if I could go back? Again, I don't know. What I do know is this: I'm free, I'm whole, I'm alive, and that's enough. My phone buzzes. A text from Melissa. Coffee this weekend? I type back, Sunday at 2? Perfect. Love you, sis. I stare at those 3 words for a long time. Then I respond, love you too. And this time, I might even mean it. Epilogue, 7 years later. I'm standing in front of a medical conference presenting my research on prescription drug monitoring systems. The auditorium is full of doctors, pharmacists, DEA agents. Agent Chen is in the front row. After my presentation, he approaches me. That was impressive, Dr. Martinez. Your work is going to save lives. Thank you. I've always wondered, he says carefully. How did you know? How did you know to document everything from day one? I meet his eyes. I told you, I knew my family. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're going to get. He studies me for a moment, then nods. Fair enough. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Protecting yourself doesn't make you guilty. I know, I say, and I do. Because I've spent 7 years living with my choices, examining them from every angle, questioning every decision. I did what I had to do to survive, and I'd do it again. As I leave the conference, I pass a poster for Tyler's foundation. His photo smiles out at me, young, hopeful, unaware of how his story would end. I stop and look at it for a long time. I'm sorry I couldn't save you, I whisper. But I saved myself. And maybe, in some small way, my survival will save someone else. That has to be enough. I walk out into the sunlight, into my hard-won freedom, into the life I chose, and I don't look back.